Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today we're discussing a sentimental model launched in 90 pieces in rose gold for the 2017 end of season. So this was a December launch in 2017, the Lange Söhne 1815 Homage to Walter Lange. The late and last scion of the watchmaking Lange family died just prior to SIHH in 2017, and this watch is a loving tribute to him. Made in 90 pieces, it was part of a collection of watches with deadbeat second that can be stopped and restarted, a historic Lange family patent, and the watch produced in 3 different metals, each one with a different production run that is symbolic of one important facet of Lange history. So we'll get into that in a moment. 40.5 millimeters in diameter in rose gold. The watch is 11 millimeters thick, 47.9 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, and then it has a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see the watch is actually fairly large for a dress watch from Lange. You'll also note the unconventional combination of 2 different seconds hands operating in different steps. It is flush and flat enough with a domed bezel that it will slip underneath the cuff. Because it is fairly large at almost 48 millimeters lug tip to lug tip, that's 47.9. I would recommend this watch for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. Again, my wrist is 16. The strap is large rectangular scale alligator leather, medium brown, semi-gloss. There is a folded edge with a monotone stitch on the bottom calf skin, and you can see this is a brand new Lange factory strap, no crimping, no gouging. We have a matching rose gold pin buckle, and the Lange pin buckle always deserves 2 quick notes. First is that the bridge is elevated over the edges or the prongs, so when the strap sits inside this buckle on your wrist, it sits flush, it doesn't stack up. Second, we have this little retaining bar, which is a clever piece for those of us with small wrists who are going to use the smaller hole, or even a hole punched inboard of that for a small wrist. Well, you know that in those cases, when tightly strapped, sometimes the strap gets pinned on the pin. Well, this little retaining bar prevents that, so even if you have a small wrist, you can easily extricate the strap and take the watch off your wrist. Typical Lange case design, so cylindrical vertical profile, little domed bezel, and lugs that are fairly dramatically stepped out from the case band. A combination of satin and polish for a bit of contrast here, and you can see that we have a little trigger that via a column wheel on the reverse side starts or stops the deadbeat second system. You cannot reset it. You can stop it at 12 o'clock, but it is a start-stop feature that is used, for example, to gauge a pulse or to time small incremental events that happen to be timed or denominated in seconds rather than minutes or hours. The dial is made of sterling silver, so AG 925, solid silver, so precious metal in its own right. It's then galvanized to create this silver white coating. We have the Arabic numerals, which is how you know it's a Lange 1815, a lovely vaulted Lange Söhne logo, a railroad track outboard for reading those seconds, which you can see aligned perfectly. And then we have a little sunken sub-register for the seconds that features its own counterweighted seconds hand and its own tiny railroad track. All the hands are fire-blued steel, and you can see we have alpha-style hands for the minutes as well as the hours, and a slight downward step to the center of the dial. There is a hacking or stop seconds function, and this is a deadbeat seconds complication with start-stop. The deadbeat seconds complication is significant because it was originally envisioned by company founder F.A. Lange, the godfather of East German watchmaking, back in 1867. The patent followed in 1877, and Emil Lange actually built it into a watch during his lifetime, and he was the grandfather of Walter Lange. Now, the watch also includes the start-stop mechanism, but it is not, technically speaking, a chronograph. It is, however, incredibly complex As you can see, the mechanism underpinning the deadbeat second is fearsomely complicated, featuring 2 pawls, 2 springs, a drive wheel, a pawl wheel, and you can see how it indirectly drives the center seconds. So this is not just indirect center seconds, this is indirect deadbeat center seconds. There's also a feature rarely seen on Lange watches here, which is an overcoil hairspring to allow concentric breathing in any physical position relative to gravity that improves the regularity of the watch in actual use on the wrist. It beats away at 3 Hz, and this watch has a manual wind 60-hour power reserve. All of this is pivoting on, well, don't take my word for it, 36 jewels. You can see it right on the center, adjusted in 5 positions, which is the high horology and chronometer standard. You can see that there's a lot of hand finishing, and it's in German style. When I talk about German style, I mostly mean the norms of wristwatch finishing established in the modern era by Lange Söhne itself. And so we have elements like German silver used for bridges and plates. This is historically true, as during the 19th century and early 20th century, pocket watches made in glasuta generally would have been made of this nickel, copper, and zinc alloy, with the copper giving it its golden hue. You can see that we have golden jewels, chaton. Those little chaton cups hold the gem. In antiquity, it was difficult to press jewels precisely into bridges and plates, so a precision chaton would be cut out of gold, the gem pressed into the cup, and then the cup fitted using screws. And then you can see the screws are fired blue steel, but we also have polished screws, so we actually have both here, blackened screws, black polished, and then blued. You can see we have stripes across the bridges laid down by a abrasive wheel, mirrored beveling on the edge of the bridges, freehand engraving on the balance cock. So no 2 are exactly alike. You can see there's perlage or engine turning on the base plate. The ratchet wheel has double solarization, which is just gorgeous. And you can see that we have 2 different sizes of perlage or engine turning. You'll also appreciate that the mechanism underpinning the start-stop of the seconds hand features satination across steel components that are themselves mirror beveled on their edges, and the screw heads feature chamfered slots and circumference. The wheels are also satinated, and you can see a pocket watch style spoke design used on the wheel for the deadbeat mechanism. You can also see that it has been beautifully internally beveled, a feature that isn't even standard on most Lange watches. That marks this watch as something truly special. If you look carefully too, I don't know how well you could see it on my phone camera, but the teeth of this ratchet wheel have been micro-beveled internally, and you can see that the click and the click spring have also been black polished. The winding action is superb. And then all this water resistant down to 30 meters. Now, there were 3 different editions of this watch. 145 in white gold, symbolizing the time that passed in years between the original founding of F.A. Lange's company in 1845 on December 7th and December 7th of 1990, when Gunther Blumlein and Walter Lange refounded Lange Söhne as a watchmaker in the modern era. 90, the edition number of this rose gold example, marking the year the company was refounded. And then there are 27 in yellow gold. And that symbolizes the 27 years that passed between 1990 and 2017 when this watch came out. Finally, the reference of the watch, which you can see, is 297.032. That's July 29th of 1924, which was Walter Lange's birthday. So a lot of loving homage elements in this watch. A very special timepiece and an unusual one in the annals of a Lange Söhne wristwatch manufacturer. And if you love it, reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.